causes they focus on, but they have completely different ways of presenting them. While Kate tends to address all people more or less, Meghan addresses a much narrower group. Kate's approach seems inclusive, I apologize for this word, and calm, while Meghan's approach seems excluding and fierce.
AmEx just dropped a massive shock on Harry and Meghan, and it's loud. That California dream didn't quietly fade. It slammed shut hard. A cold legal filing hit Montecito, and American Express came straight for the Duke and Duchess, demanding over $2.30 million in unpaid credit card debt. This wasn't a gentle reminder or a soft nudge. This was a bold public move that put everything out in the open, and it only gets worse. Add in interest, penalties, and legal fees, and that number could climb past $5 million fast. That polished, picture-perfect lifestyle suddenly looks unstable, like the bills finally caught up and refused to stay hidden. What once looked smooth and flawless now feels tense, like pressure is building from every direction. But that lawsuit, that was just the first hit. The real tension was already growing across the ocean, coming from the same royal system they once walked away from. And now it's clear, that system hasn't forgotten anything. The monarchy still carries weight, keeps records, and knows exactly when to step in and be felt. This situation is turning into something way bigger than money. It's like a spotlight has been thrown directly onto everything tied to the Sussex operation. Media deals, business ties, partnerships, every move now under sharp attention. Everything they built is being watched closely. And while the lawsuit lit the spark, there's a strong sense that bigger forces are paying attention. Then things took an even sharper turn just days later. Movement started in the UK, and not in a friendly way. No support, no sympathy, just a clear signal that this had reached a whole new level. The pressure wasn't just financial anymore, it became official. On February 24th, 2026, a directive came out of London, and it was cold. Not from a palace press team, but from the Privy Council. That alone sent a powerful message. This wasn't personal drama anymore. This had moved into serious territory. The order was direct, leaving no room for debate. Meghan Markle was given exactly 21 days to hand over a full, unfiltered breakdown of all corporate credit card spending and liabilities. That includes both domestic and international activity tied to business and charitable work. Every detail, every transaction, everything exposed. No back and forth, no negotiation, just full compliance expected. To make sure it happens, a special ethics subcommittee was formed. And this group holds serious power. They can demand records from any company, charity, or organization connected to the Sussex brand. That's not a small step. That's pressure coming from the very top. Now everything is tightening. What once looked like freedom and independence is now facing hard numbers, strict oversight, and zero flexibility. The spotlight is locked in, and the world is watching every move as this situation keeps unfolding. This wasn't random, this was fast, precise action, like a system moving with purpose. That 21-day deadline wasn't chosen by chance either. People close to the palace made it clear. It was a calculated legal move, lined up perfectly with the High Court's next session. Every step timed, every move planned, nothing left to chance. And the warning behind it, heavy. Ignore the order, and things escalate fast. This wasn't about sending another strong letter. This opened the door for the state to step in with serious authority. That meant legal power to bring in forensic accountants backed by warrants, giving access to everything, from Archewell's secured systems to personal cloud storage, even complex offshore accounts. Full exposure, no filters. The message was crystal clear: hand everything over now, or risk having it pulled apart piece by piece later. No gray area, no soft landing, just a hard line drawn right in front of them. Pressure hit almost instantly, and it didn't slow down. As the day began, legal notices started stacking up at the Montecito estate, turning quiet mornings into a flood of urgent deliveries. High-powered attorneys flew in from New York on private jets, and their fees only pushed the financial strain higher. Crisis communication experts, the kind brought in during major public fallout, were hired on expensive retainers, ready to control the narrative. That massive estate, once seen as a peaceful escape, flipped into something completely different. It became a tense command center, packed with strategy talks, legal reviews, and non-stop updates. Those ocean views? They didn't feel relaxing anymore. They faded into the background as the pressure closed in. At the same time, the U.S. legal system was tightening its grip. The Los Angeles Superior Court scheduled a default hearing for April 15th, 2026, and that date carried serious weight. If they failed to respond properly, American Express could move quickly. They could request enforcement through the California Sheriff's Department, and that's where the risk spikes. Under California's community property laws, almost everything could be on the table. Their home, vehicles, artwork, bank accounts, shared assets, nothing guaranteed safe. The very system meant to support their new life was now turning into a major vulnerability. Then came another hit from across the Atlantic. The palace prepared to pause all UK-based licensing payments and royalty streams until their internal review was complete. And the timing? Not random. It lined up in a way that increased pressure from both sides. Now it's a two-direction squeeze. In the US, assets face real threat. In the UK, income streams are restricted. Financial pressure from both ends, leaving almost no room to move. To understand how serious this response is, you have to look at what the Crown represents. It's not just a family. It operates like a structured institution, closely tied to public trust and legal systems. Its stability depends on order, responsibility, and especially financial discipline. For years, royal finances stayed quiet and out of reach, but growing public attention and past controversies forced change. The system had to adapt, becoming far more transparent, controlled, and closely watched than ever before. And now that same system is showing just how firm it can be when the pressure rises. These weren't small issues or casual talk. They ranged from questionable money handling by lesser-known royals to heated debates about how projects were funded. And the palace didn't ignore it. They rolled out something serious, a response called Operation Ledger Lock. This wasn't a simple review. This was a full-scale forensic breakdown designed to leave nothing unchecked. Leading it was Sir Malcolm Hurst, a name that carries serious weight in financial investigations. As the former head of the Serious Fraud Office in London, he's known for being sharp, precise, and completely unmoved by status or emotion. No favoritism, no hesitation. He doesn't deal in feelings or family ties. He deals in numbers, records, and hard proof. This move showed exactly how the palace was thinking. No more quiet handling, no more soft internal fixes. Everything had to be documented, verified, and proven. Hurst's first mission was to audit the royal household itself, creating a solid standard of financial transparency that couldn't be questioned later. And this wasn't hidden behind closed doors. The process was built to be seen, tracked, and even challenged by the public. Every grant from royal patronages, every donation to charities, every payment to vendors, everything logged, checked, and matched line by line. Then came the bold shift. Transparency went even further, with open-source spreadsheets released online. Anyone could review the data. Journalists, everyday people, online communities digging through details on forums. Financial records turned into something the public could actually verify themselves. Princess Anne stepped in personally too, making sure her own funding and patronage money were included in the audit. That move carried weight. It showed this wasn't about targeting one side, it was about setting a shared standard across the board. Major organizations like the Royal Foundation and the Earthshot Prize had their records opened, along with smaller charities that rarely get attention, like the Highland Pony Rescue Trust. Nothing was too big. Nothing was too small. Everything faced review. Early findings started to paint a very clear picture. Reports showed royal charities operating at around 99.8% efficiency, meaning nearly every pound donated reached its intended purpose. That number didn't just sit there, it became part of a bigger message. Inside the institution, this served two clear purposes. It protected against claims that this was a targeted move or internal conflict. And outside, it created a visible, measurable benchmark anyone could understand. So when the Sussex financial records come into play, they won't be judged in isolation. Any missing details, redactions, or unusual spending patterns will be compared directly against these clean public ledgers. That's where the real pressure builds. The same level of attention that once worked in their favor is now turning into a system of accountability. It's a strategic shift that changes everything. Instead of reacting, the palace is setting the terms, controlling the narrative through data and transparency. As one former royal courtier put it, the king is not behaving like a parent. He added, in his role as chairman of the board of the firm, he's attempting to mitigate a risk that might have devastating consequences for his brand. And that's where everything started to flip, inside what people began calling the Montecito war room, while London stayed calm, controlled, and precise, and tightly organized. Not anymore. The Sussex estate flipped into controlled chaos almost overnight. Those black SUVs pulling into the driveway weren't bringing celebrities or wellness figures this time. They were filled with serious professionals, bankers, forensic accountants, legal teams, carrying hard cases packed with documents, and above it all, paparazzi and drones hovering non-stop, refusing to back off, creating a constant buzz that made everything feel even more intense.
The series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from here.
Inside the house, there was no calm, no peace. It felt like a live crisis center. Lawyers and accountants took over the dining table, going page by page, debating what could be handed over to auditors and what had to stay protected under legal privilege. Every detail mattered. Every decision carried weight. At the same time, the financial pressure didn't creep in, it slammed in fast. That carefully curated lifestyle started showing cracks under real stress. According to a source close to their financial circle, Netflix flagged the final $2.1 million payment tied to their documentary deal, pointing straight at the ongoing legal situation. And it didn't stop there. A major podcast platform reportedly moved to terminate its deal, citing moral clauses and financial concerns written into the contract. Just like that, major income streams started drying up at the exact moment they were needed most. The bigger vision of building a billion-dollar brand, it started slipping fast. Reports suggest access to cash was shrinking just as quickly as momentum disappeared. Then came one of the most revealing moments. A leaked memo claimed that two private equity investors tied to Meghan's lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, demanded immediate repayment. When they checked the main operating account, it allegedly held less than $5,000. That number hit hard. It wasn't even enough to cover a single week of estate security, something considered essential. And in elite circles, perception is everything. Once that perception shifts, doors don't just close, they slam shut. The luxury world started reacting. High-end fashion houses that once rushed to dress Meghan reportedly began pulling back, quietly requesting loaned couture pieces to be returned. A well-known Los Angeles jeweler is said to have pulled a short-term credit line used for a $130,000 emerald cuff. What once looked like influence and stability now started to feel uncertain, and the pressure didn't stay in the business world. It hit daily life. Payroll was reportedly frozen, leaving staff unpaid for the moment. The private security team, a critical part of their setup, was reduced in size. Household staff were called into urgent meetings and warned to prepare for major cuts in hours. The entire tone inside the home shifted, from structured routine to constant uncertainty. Daily life turned into non-stop Zoom calls with lawyers and financial advisors, replacing any sense of normal rhythm. Every decision now came with legal and financial consequences attached. Even personal expenses were affected, with accounts reportedly frozen. Regular costs like school fees, music lessons, and summer plans suddenly became real concerns instead of routine payments. And behind it all, there was growing concern around Prince Harry's inheritance from Princess Diana. At one point, it was seen as a protected financial cushion, something separate, something safe. But legal experts warned that if any of those funds were mixed into shared accounts or used jointly, creditors could argue they fall under community property rules. And that would put even deeply personal assets at real risk. Now everything feels exposed, from public image to private finances. What once looked like full control has turned into a situation where every move is being watched, questioned, and calculated. If those funds were mixed the way experts warned, then the danger became very real. What once felt secure could suddenly be pulled into the same storm. And at that point, the Montecito mansion didn't feel like a dream home anymore. It felt tense, locked down, pressured from every direction. This situation didn't stay local either. It stretched across borders and became complicated fast. It turned into a legal maze running through two different countries, each with its own rules, systems, and consequences. Managing that kind of pressure at the same time, that's no small challenge. Then things escalated even further. Because of how public and high-profile everything had become, the US government stepped in deeper. The Internal Revenue Service decided to take a closer look. They issued a Section 7602 demand, a serious legal order requiring detailed financial records going back 3 years for any business tied to the Sussex name. This wasn't routine paperwork. This was a deep audit. Investigators were reportedly digging into spending that may have been claimed incorrectly, looking at deductions tied to clothing, travel, and even private jet use, all labeled as business expenses. That level of scrutiny carries real consequences. Even without criminal charges, the reputational damage alone could hit hard. And on top of that, civil penalties for underpayment can reach as high as 75%, adding serious financial weight. The ripple effect spread quickly. Charities and nonprofit groups connected to the Sussex network started reacting fast. Board members, worried about their own exposure, pushed for full cooperation with federal investigators. Suddenly, being linked to Archewell or the Sussex brand didn't feel like an advantage anymore. It started to look like a risk. Projects were paused, fundraising slowed, partnerships began stepping back to avoid being pulled into the situation. What had taken years to build, a wide network of influence and collaboration, now looked more like a chain of potential liabilities. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the UK side was preparing to act. Palace legal teams made it clear, if debts remained unpaid or cooperation fell short, the Crown could support creditors trying to enforce judgments across borders. And that's where things get even more serious. There are legal pathways that allow a California court decision to be recognized and enforced in the United Kingdom. That opens the door to actions far beyond simple collections. In a worst-case scenario, it could lead to asset seizures within the UK, including financial interests or income streams like book royalties. There's even the possibility, under certain conditions, of formal discussions around royal titles. As a constitutional expert from Cambridge put it, a royal title is a gift of the king. In no way is it a right. That statement carries real weight, especially in situations where public trust and institutional reputation are on the line. There is historical precedent for titles being removed, especially in cases where actions are seen as damaging to the Crown's standing. The mechanism exists, and the message being sent, it's clear. Nothing is off the table if things continue to escalate. As that 21-day deadline got closer, the Sussex team made their move in a tightly controlled operation. Encrypted hard drives and sealed binders filled with early disclosures were prepared and shipped to London under strict handling procedures. This wasn't random, it was strategic. Identical datasets were sent to both St. James's Palace and American Express offices in London at the same time. The goal was obvious: show cooperation and create the appearance of full transparency. Online, the reaction exploded. People tracked courier movements, shared updates, and pushed hashtags like #SussexAudit and #LedgerLock into global trends. The situation had fully entered the public spotlight. The tension was impossible to ignore. Was this a real attempt to resolve things and calm the situation, or just the start of a much longer legal fight? Answers started coming when Sir Malcolm Hurst's audit team released early findings, and what they revealed raised serious concerns. According to a source close to the process, the Sussex disclosures didn't match the clean, structured transparency seen in palace records. Instead, they were described as incomplete and heavily edited, missing invoices, gaps in timelines, entire months where spending wasn't clearly accounted for. That kind of inconsistency raised immediate red flags for investigators reviewing the data. American Express's legal team reacted fast. They filed a motion in Los Angeles, arguing that the incomplete disclosures pointed to bad faith and suggested that assets may have been concealed. That move escalated everything again. The situation was now deeper in legal conflict, and the stakes were rising on every side. Because of this, the court didn't wait. It pushed the hearing date forward, tightening an already short timeline. That decision added serious pressure, turning an urgent situation into a full race against the clock. The damage hit hard, and the reaction wasn't subtle. Veteran groups and nonprofit organizations that once worked with the Sussex brand began releasing statements, praising the palace for transparency and controlled financial practices. At the same time, those statements quietly raised concerns about Archewell's accounting, without directly spelling it out. That shift mattered. Sponsors who once rushed to align with the Sussex brand started stepping back, choosing instead to support royal projects with clear distance from the situation. The separation became obvious, and it sent a message without needing direct words. Public opinion, which had been carefully built over time, started moving in a different direction, and it became clear their most valuable asset was never media deals or publishing income. It was credibility. Now that credibility is under pressure. In a world where perception drives opportunity, losing trust can hit harder than losing money. And inside Montecito, the mood turned heavy. One evening, with the Pacific wind pushing hard against the doors, the choices in front of them became impossible to ignore. Reports suggested that a draft apology email to the king sat unsent in Meghan's outbox, a clear sign of a path they hadn't taken. At the same time, their phones kept lighting up nonstop. Updates from the palace audit, reminders of upcoming court dates.
I don't think I think, however, that if he did a program about his mother, that would be for money.
Yes.
And I think it would be a shocking act of further disloyalty.
Sharp criticism from global media pouring in without pause. Every new headline chipped away at the world they had built. Now everything comes down to what's inside those encrypted hard drives and the stacks of documents that followed. Those files aren't just paperwork. They could shape everything that happens next. The decisions ahead may look simple, but the consequences are heavy. Full transparency, handing everything over without edits, could help resolve the legal fight. But it also risks exposing private details, financial realities, and the true scale of their lifestyle. On the other side, holding things back comes with its own danger. That path could trigger even more legal action, putting assets, income streams, and long-term stability at risk. It could even push the situation into territory where titles and status come into question. This situation goes far beyond money. It's turning into a defining moment, not just for them, but for how modern royalty operates. In a world that demands accountability, the Crown's response has made one thing very clear. It can act strategically and set firm boundaries when needed. This isn't just about one couple. It's about setting expectations for everyone connected to the institution. Moving forward, a new standard is being drawn, built on transparency and responsibility. And it's not subtle. It's playing out in real time for the world to see. At the center of it all is a deeper tension, now impossible to ignore. The challenge of holding on to the image and advantages of royal status while stepping away from the structure and scrutiny that comes with it is now fully exposed. And right now, global attention is locked in. People are watching closely as everything unfolds, because at this stage, the future of a prince and a duchess, their brand, finances, and long-term legacy isn't being shaped by interviews or headlines anymore. It's being decided by documents, by decisions, and by what can actually be proven when it matters most. If you watch this and have thoughts, drop them in the comments below. If this breakdown made you see things differently, hit subscribe and stay locked in for more deep dives like this. Don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who needs to see it.